Welcome to the Honest Reflection Podcast with your hosts, Cody Hairston and Nick Woods. Here, we want to help you reflect on your week and be honest about your relationship with God. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hey guys, glad to have you in our conversation again this week. As normal, Nick is here with us again. How's it going, Nick?
Good. It's good to be with you again. And I'm looking forward to reflecting with you and reflecting with everybody that's joining us on how we can live in a way that is full of the Spirit, bearing the fruits of the Spirit. And that's been our goal. And we want others to see the Spirit in us, ultimately to the goal of glorifying God and serving Jesus. So we're going to continue our conversation today, reflecting on the idea of bearing kindness as a part of the fruit of the Spirit. If you missed any of the previous episodes, you can find them on Apple and Spotify. If you like what we're doing, as always, subscribe, rate, do all the stuff that can help us, kind of pop to the top of people's algorithm and whatnot. But today we're going to reflect on being kind with our family units. And as we said before, as we kind of go through our pattern of thinking about these things, everybody's family is different and looks different. We understand that. And so maybe you're single, living on your own. Maybe your family unit is tense. Maybe you're in a family situation where some of your family members aren't following Jesus. I think there are still principles that we're going to discuss today that are going to be helpful, because our ultimate goal is that we are reflecting on ourselves and how we can bear kindness in any relationship. And so hopefully there's principles in every situation, but especially for those of us who are in a family situation, in a family relationship or dynamic, that have people that we live with every day that are close to us, spouses, children, parents, however that works out. That's what we're going to be discussing and reflecting on for a little bit today. So Cody, how do you want to start our reflections on being kind in our family units?
I just want to start by acknowledging that, the family is where some of the most powerful moments of kindness can happen. That's why I'm super excited about this lesson or this episode in particular, because there's just so much there, so much good that can happen when we are kind to our family. Like you said, whether that's people in our own households, even when you think of, parents who, we may not live with them. Maybe we're a child that's moved out of the house. Like even still in those relationships, like there's still a lot of good that can happen. Mm-hmm. I think first of all, it's because we have more opportunities. I mean, these are the people that we are constantly around if they are the people that you're within like one household with. But like we just have more time on task. We're seeing these people, we're interacting with these people, we're texting, talking just constantly. And so there's just more opportunities for kindness. But also there can be some really intense moments within family units. Like I was thinking, it's like, man, an argument between spouses is one of the most explosive things that could happen, right? Because you all know each other, the things that can get under each other's skin. It's just not a good thing. Or when you see a parent yelling at a child or a child yelling at a parent, everybody recognizes, man, this is not good. This is something that has to be fixed. And so resolving those conflicts, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a ton of energy. Well, kindness can bring about that resolution. Kindness can be the thing that takes that horrible family situation and turns it into something good. Or it can take, even a long period of just wrongness within the family, and they can flip it over into, this is actually a family unit that loves each other, a family unit that's doing things the way that they're supposed to. Kindness can do that. And so kindness within the family is a really important thing to think about. And I'm just glad we're doing it today.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about this and we put it in that relationship or this specific conversation with our relationship and our family units, our attitude and our response in those situations and to those closest to us, they have to reflect kindness. We're still serving Jesus even in our homes. And so that dynamic has to reflect that. And as you were saying, like this is a great example. And in a lot of ways, people see, those of us who are following Jesus, they see how we react with our family members. There's a light that we can shine even in those relationships. So we can't let, in one of the biggest challenges, I think, is that sometimes in those close relationships, we let kind of a desire for justice overpower the need for kindness. And I guess what I mean by that is when we're in these close relationships and we're living together constantly, we feel slighted and wronged, maybe more than in any other situation or circumstance. And because we know those people so well, we immediately feel the need to exact justice, or whether it's verbally or with our actions and the way that we treat people, we want to exact justice. We cannot let our desire for justice overpower the need for kindness. Really, what we have to do is we have to let justice flow through our kindness. Our ability to show kindness can aid our desire for what is right, and maybe even help in a situation where someone has been wrong. There are times when we're going to feel slighted. There are times when we're going to handle the situation the wrong way. Uh, but what we have to do is we have to come back and be kind in our words. What we say, it matters, and how we say it matters to our families. The way that we approach these situations. When I come in and I've had a long day and Katie's had a long day, and we're immediately like short and kind of to the point, it's already, I know for me, it's going to be a challenge for me to come back to kindness. But we've got to have kindness in our words. It's got to be on our tongue, in our actions, in the way that we treat each other. We have to let justice flow through kindness. Our actions can lead to a better, as Cody said, a better resolution. And even in our thoughts, and this is really maybe should have been the first one. Like, this is how we guard against our words and our actions. What are we thinking? How are we viewing that person ultimately? And that has to outweigh what's happening in the moment. I was thinking about Proverbs 15 and verse 1, where the proverb writer, through the wisdom of God, says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Our kindness has to be the foundation, and the justice will flow through that unit, that mechanism. A gentle answer turns away wrath. So we may not always have the outcome that we thought we should have, but kindness is not to be used to manipulate a situation. It's who we are. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. This kindness is not because I want a certain outcome. It's because I'm being transformed in the image of the Son of God through the Spirit's guidance. Kindness is our goal, no matter the outcome. It's the best way to advocate for justice in our families.
Yeah, man, I mentioned this to you before, but that idea of bringing justice through kindness, it may be the greatest thing I've ever heard. It really is. That's because that's the way that we're supposed to think about it. These things are not in opposition to one another. They work together. Justice and kindness work together. Because the thing is we do want the right thing to happen. We want justice to happen in our situations, right? Parents, you want your children to listen to you because that's what they're supposed to do. You know, you want your spouse to apologize when they have wronged you because, again, that's what they're supposed to do. So we want justice and we're trying to bring that about. We just need to make sure that kindness is a part of that equation. And really, I think there are some situations where that justice, that resolution is really only made possible because of acts of kindness, or at the very least, it makes them more likely. We're more likely to see justice if we bring kindness. I kind of think about the classic movie thing where the husband has done something wrong and he recognizes it, and you see the sad look on his face. And what does he do? He goes to the store, he buys some flowers, right? He's going to bring some flowers. That's an act of kindness to show his wife, look, I'm sorry for this, and I want to have resolution between us, right? And I think that's a good thing. That's even a biblical thing. You see people, the children of Israel, bringing sacrifices to the Lord to show, hey, this is true repentance, right? You're supposed to bring that act of kindness, something to symbolize, hey, look, I recognize that I have wronged you here. But have you ever thought about buying your spouse flowers when they have messed up? It seems kind of backwards, right? No. They're supposed to be the one doing an act of kindness for me. They're the one who's wronged me. And yes, they should be looking to do acts of kindness for you, but you should also be looking to do acts of kindness for them, right? Maybe that act of kindness is the thing that softens your spouse's heart and makes them actually acknowledge what they already know, that they were wrong, that they need to apologize. Another example is from the parent to child relationship. Maybe the kid's having a rough day and there's something inside you that just wants to lash out. Maybe you've had a rough day too, and your dad, you just come home and the kiddo's just going off. And I'm not saying like being disrespectful. I'm just saying they're just having a rough day, right? So you could lash out, but maybe the answer is taking them for a walk. Man, hey, let's go talk about this. Right? Maybe he really likes riding bikes, and so you're like, let's go ride bikes together, right? And we can chit chat about what's going on, right? So notice kindness is not being done to the exclusion of justice. That kid needs to learn to be obedient, and the apologies, they still need to happen. So we're still seeking justice, but we still need to be kind, right? So even in the resolution, even as we're seeking justice, there's still a kind way to go about it.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking about this, and something that just kind of popped into my head that goes along with this is in receiving other person, a spouse or family member's kindness, we need to accept it as kindness. Like our part. Just thinking about our part. I'm not talking about what we should expect the other person to do, but when somebody is showing kindness, expect it. Kindness, by definition, is showing mercy through our actions or giving something better. I think for me, to your point, what you were just saying, when I struggle the most with kindness with the kids, or even with Katie in that situation, it's because I'm expecting something different in that situation. 9 times out of 10, it's like I come home and I don't want to deal with like crazy kids. So instead of like thinking through what can I do to help the situation, how can I do something unique or outside of the box, maybe there's just a default there that says like, man, I'm just going to be ill and I'm going to like come in with a rod of force, like a fist of force or whatever I'm trying to say there. Like, you're like, I'm just going to come in and lay down the hammer. That's the one. And so like, that's not helpful, like that in that situation, I haven't been there all day. I don't know what's happening. I don't know the ins and outs of everybody's mood and attitude and situation. And then I'm probably just coming in and throwing coals on the fire. Right. So when you do not want someone to treat you in a certain way, um, you tend to like be aware of that, know that. But also, like, what's going to work most of the time. Um, Most of us want people to treat them in a way that's better than they deserve, right? I want my family to treat me in a way that's better than I deserve, uh, in every situation. And sometimes I'll get frustrated when they don't treat me in a way that's better than I deserve because I just expect that to be the situation. So because of that, like kindness comes into this equation that says like spouses should be receiving a better gift than they deserve from us. To Cody's point, right? Like I love that. I love this thought that what if somebody's just having a bad day or has done something to wrong me, and I in turn give them a gift of kindness, whether it's flowers or whatever to our spouse. Like there's showing that, giving that goodwill. Children should be always receiving our better gift, not what they deserve in any given moment. And parents as well, like however we think about these relationships. Kindness is me knowing what someone has been dealing with throughout the day, what one of my family members has been dealing with. And even on a good day with Katie, I come home, I need to know, like, even on a good day, it's been hard with 3 boys, right? And one of them under 2, right? So even on a good day, it's challenging. I need to know that factors into the way that I'm going to treat her and talk to her. Kindness when my children are needing to be corrected or are having a bad day. Like how I respond sets a standard. It sends a message that this is the way that it's okay to act. Because dad's coming in and he's grumpy and he's ill and he's being short or maybe even like yelling and whatever. Well, then my kids see like, well, when things get hard, that's how we're supposed to act. I'm teaching my children what's acceptable behavior. And what I want to teach them is Jesus behavior. What I want to teach them is that I'm being changed by the Spirit. And so our ability to focus on being kind is going to help us bind our families together and teach them right ways to live like Jesus.
Yep, 100%. And praise God for the Spirit, because none of this would be possible without the Spirit's work in salvation. Because the what we're describing today, as far as being kind in these situations, it's like that's not normal. Like people don't normally act in kindness in some of these situations. The works of the flesh from Galatians 5. That's the way that people normally act, there's hatred, there's strife, there's outbursts of anger. But we're saying that in moments that might encourage those behaviors, we're bringing in kindness, right? That's not the way that people normally act. In fact, it's not even the way that Christians act if we're not walking by the Spirit. So we've got to find a way to reset back to the way that God wants us to live, because it really is a superior way. The way of kindness is a superior way to live, because I'm still yet to see someone be unkind in a situation where that situation was improved because of that unkindness. Just haven't seen it. I've seen some situations get better just because, but not because that person was unkind. But the flip side is true as well. Like, I have seen situations that were resolved, they were de-escalated because of kindness. Because that's what kindness can do. Kindness can bring good into bad situations. And so I would really encourage anyone who's listening, who's in a bad spot with someone, like a relationship kind of thing, try some kindness, right? Try an act of kindness. Try viewing them in a more charitable way. Start talking better about them, whatever the case may be, because the word is true, and we're gonna see some better results, because kindness can make all the difference in the world. Kindness is the difference between a kid respecting his father and fearing him. Going back to what you were talking about earlier, as far as the things that our kids might see, it's possible for a kid to see dad lashing out all the time and thinking, oh man, this is how people are supposed to be, right? And the strongest, the biggest person, that's the person that wins. And it's like, no, that's not the way of God. Kindness is the difference between a couple divorcing and a couple having an argument, maybe separating themselves, like proximity wise, and then coming back together and apologizing, right? Kindness can bring that about. And ultimately, kindness is the difference between me being with God and me being without God. And of course, I'm talking about God's kindness there. I'm not talking about my own, right? Because of God's kindness, I was able to be reconciled to him. And that that idea leaks over into our relationships too. We can have reconciliation if we bring about some kindness. And it may not always work out. I acknowledge that, but it does give you the best chance.
Yeah, it does. I was thinking about this too. Our kindness it's a gift. And really, I think that's why, like in the Old Testament, you see the phrase talking about God, his loving kindness. In First Peter chapter and Second Peter chapter 1, sorry, we have a list of things to add to our faith, and one of them is brotherly kindness. Like, it's just this love word that's wrapped up in what our actions should look like. And I think there's a reason for that. Like, when we love and care about people, those things are tied together. That's why it's the fruit of the Spirit, not the fruits of the Spirit, right? All these things are kind of grouped together. So our kindness is a gift. It's not a way to keep score. It's who we are becoming. And we have to be careful not to let our kindness become a source of frustration because the other person isn't showing kindness in return. Um, it's not something we have to do. It's who we are trying to be. And those are two different things. It's not always given because the other person deserves it. It's given because we love and we care and we're trying to be like Jesus. So when do you struggle the most with being intentional in your kindness with your family? What can we do this next week to aid our efforts to grow in kindness in these family relationships? And the question that we've been reflecting on this whole section: does your kindness reflect the kindness that God has shown you?
Thank you for listening to the Honest Reflection podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Look forward to reflecting with you again next week.